Okay, so welcome back, Elizabeth. How have you been doing since the last session?
Um, I think I've I tried including some of the things you've suggested, like the mindful meditation,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, it really hasn't done a lot just because my stress has increased much, like a lot since the last time that we've seen each other, and it's really just I tried to include it, but as soon as the stress increased, it didn't work. It was gone.
Okay, so what is the new stress that you're under?
Well, I am getting close to finishing my degree, my undergrad, and starting to look at grad school applications and starting to consider what grad schools I want to go to, and kind of starting to figure out that process and trying to organize my brain on what I really want in life because I'm starting to look at all these programs and all these different um, paths I could go, and it's starting to give me some anxiety and some stress on having to do that now, having to make these decisions now.
Okay, so I know for at least like when I went into college, I kind of had some base knowledge of where I kind of wanted ended up after graduation with my career. Have you ever like previously thought about that, like maybe in high school or like early, like kind of, okay, I'm gonna get this degree. This is ultimately like the job that I want to look at. Have you ever had that process?
I did have my career path has changed a lot in the last couple of years. Like in high school, I was set on becoming a teacher, which changed once I had my senior year. I had AP psychology, which really
Okay.
got me into psychology and which really got me into the degree. And I came into college and I was like, I'm gonna do psychology, and then I'm gonna continue to grad school as a clinical psychologist, and then get the PhD. But over the years, that kind of has changed, and I kind of swayed away from the clinical side and more considered the business side of it, and more looked into social work and HR and all of that. And it's just really hard to figure out how exactly I want to take that because I've looked at a lot of schools and a lot of programs, and there is obviously the social work programs and the HR programs, but there's also organizational psychology programs, which are almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to make that decision because, like, it's kind of the decision that's going to decide what my career is afterwards, and it's going to decide how I'm set up for that career.
Mm-hmm.
And it's starting to make me nervous because that's something that I'm gonna do for the rest of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to get it right.
So are you swaying more to one side versus the other?
I think I am. I think I am definitely leaning towards the psychology side of it and going into organizational psychology rather than just full on business in
Mm-hmm.
HR. But I feel like if there was a scenario where I would get into a good HR program, I would probably take it over
Mm-hmm.
the organizational psychology.
Okay. Have you reached out to any of your teachers? Do you have any like business teachers that you have taken kind of to talk about how they took their path to get to the specific career that they're in? Have you reached out to anybody like that?
I have not reached out to any business professors. I did not have any business classes
Okay.
per se, but I do know a lot of people in like that own their own business or that run their own business or that are business majors here at the school, but I do want to keep my um, decision based on me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be too influenced because I've had that in the past that my decisions were very influenced on what other people wanted me to do. And I feel like grad school is kind of my time to decide.
Mm-hmm.
It's my time to decide what to do in my life and kind of the first big adult decision I have
Yeah.
to make.
So you're kind of feeling anxious because in previous past experiences when you have reached out, they've kind of swayed your opinion, and now you're looking back at that and being like, I know what happened then. I don't want that to happen now. So that's also creating like a subsection almost to your anxiety of like, I should reach out and, get some knowledge versus not being swayed to
Yeah.
go a certain path.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm so sorry. I'm trying to think. But we can definitely work on that kind of anxiety. Um, so I gotta pause. I'm sorry. Okay, so you were saying that the anxiety kind of stems from people having to have decided your path in the past, so you don't want that to reoccur. Is there a reason why you're almost feeling that in this particular time with this particular like career path? You kind of get where I'm going with that?
I think I do. I think one thing is that I have noticed my parents pushing for one path in particular just because none of my other siblings have gone that path, and it's kind of like a career path that both of my parents have taken, and so far no one in of me and my siblings has gone that path, and I think they're hopeful that possibly I would do it, and it adds a little pressure to like go that way instead of kind of maybe I do want to do something else. Maybe I don't want to go the doctor path and go the scientist path rather than maybe going the business way.
Yeah.
And I think having that added pressure of pleasing them and doing what they did is adding a lot of stress.
And you don't want that to sway your decision and end up being
Yeah,
like, this
no.
isn't where I wanted to be.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to sit in my career in a couple years and be like, I'm only here because my parents wanted me to be.
So is that really pushing you to a different career path altogether? Like, well, okay. Would it get to the point where you could be like, this is ultimately, I don't want to be like mom and dad, so this career path is ultimately out of the picture. I'm going to go one of the other ways.
I think if that's why I don't want them to be too included in the decision, because I want to, if I make the decision to go the scientific route, I want it to be my decision. I don't want it to be them saying, oh yeah, it'd be great if you do that, and me being like, okay, they think it's great, I'm gonna do that. I want it to be like kind of me alone in a room making the decision rather than them being in the room with me, something like that.
And then, so going on with this, I guess looking into schools, is there like I really want to go here, I want to live here, this is where I want to end up, so I'm going to go ahead and take whatever this school offers versus, okay, I don't want to live here, but this is more the goal oriented, this is where I want to end up. Because I know when I was looking for grad schools, that was definitely something that I played into it almost, and I kind of limited myself to where I applied to. So is that also into your plan when you're looking at careers and colleges?
I think location is definitely somewhat of a component to it. I have my preferences. I like the East Coast. I never want to end up on the West Coast, so I think that's already like a decided thing. I think something that also plays into that is how far I want to be away from my family, since they are pretty close right now, and I do have some schools considered that are closer to them, but there's also schools that I'm considering that are further away. So I think that would definitely also sway me. I think as far as I've looked, most of the programs that I would consider are available at most schools. So I could go either way program wise, but how far I am away from my family would be another factor in it. So I think in general my family is a big factor in the decision of what I want to do with my life, and I almost feel like it shouldn't be, since it is my life and it should be kind of, I don't want to say separate from my family life, but
Mhm.
maybe just a little bit.
So you're feeling kind of the divide between what I want to do with my life versus what my family and what I want to do because of my family.
Yeah.
Okay, that can be
Definitely.
very, very anxious, stressful, especially during this time, your final year, trying to figure out kind of the path that you want to go on. Um, so like, just give me like on a scale of like 1 to 10, like how scared are you for this process?
I would say almost like a 7,
Okay, so it's,
just because it is a big part of my life and
yeah.
it will determine the rest of it.
Okay, so this is along with what we talked about last time, the process of making sure you have everything planned. With school, now we can move on to having this be planned, this be less stressful for you ultimately, because I want you to make the best decision that's going to work out for you and your future, but also not having that regret or that guilt or that anxiety when it comes to not following what your family wanted or being close enough to your family or including them in your decisions. That's something that
Yeah. I think really getting my thoughts straight would
Yeah.
be like a good step towards actually making a decision.
Yeah. And I definitely think if there's I know you're anxious about reaching out, but I would reach out to a couple people at the university and see if they could at least not sway you in that way, but just give you some guidance on like how they were able to do it almost, kind of give their background of how they came to that decision, because I know that helped me when I was going to grad school. So, and if that's not something comfortable because of past experiences, then you don't have to do it. But I just think what other people have been through you can gain knowledge from it. So that's something that you're expressing to, your professors at your university. You're getting their experiences, and you can also kind of talk out where you're at with them, and maybe they might have some input and be like, well, you don't seem like the kind of person that would want to go this way. You're almost kind of leaning more toward this direction, and just writing that down and taking that not to heart but into consideration of like, well, this is how other people see me. So, whether that's good or bad, that can also help with your decision. And then, obviously, if they had been to schools or, them to help you deal with like the whole school rejection, school acceptance, what programs to get into, kind of the way to guide you through that whole process is definitely something that I would definitely reach out to them, because they would probably be able to help you more with that and that whole process with going from undergrad to graduate school. So,
Yeah, I think I can definitely like try and find someone to reach out to and get some information from about what it looks like to go into those careers.
yeah, that would definitely be my plan of action. So for next time, when we meet, I definitely want to, take what we've talked about today into consideration, and then kind of give me an update next time of kind of where you're at, because I want to help you de-stress and help you along this process as helpful as I can, but also, making sure that this isn't open. I'm not pushing my values on you, and you have a nice space to come talk to somebody
Yeah.
about. Okay. Well, I guess I'll see you next time.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Okay.
So, I really liked how you used your own experiences, like especially with something like school and stuff. It's something where you want to have like other people kind of be like, this is how I did it, and like if you do it like that, that is a normal process. Because I feel like having to go to other people and ask them about like how to do like the career and how to get to that career, like I honestly didn't think like a lot of people would do that, but apparently they do. You didn't. So I think that was really good because that's something that, you know, would help me figure out what I need to do and like who to go to. I honestly like I didn't notice you making like the reflection statements like when you did them, but then later I was like, wait, she just did that. She just did that. Oh my god, what? Like you didn't even like use like the like so you feel blah blah blah. Like you kind of made your own little thing and really well incorporated it into the conversation that like I didn't even like what? Like I had to revisit that and be like, oh yeah, she did that. That's fun. I really liked that you did. You stated that you wouldn't impose your values on me, which is really good because, especially with school, and since I am saying that I am concerned about other people influencing me and like having any decision, basing a decision on other people's values, like it was really good that you were like, oh, maybe I should say that you're like kind of like non-biased, just trying to help me figure out what I want instead. Yeah, I think that was really good because it very much applied to the issue. Like it's not something you would like normally just randomly say at the end of the session.
Yeah,
it's something that was very specific to this session, which is really good. Like you were very well, like you were adapting very well to what the session was about.
And I was also like trying to block my own because I'm like, I'm the clinician, I can't give you help, and that's why I was like, okay, like I know you're anxious, but like I know I can't help you, like ethically, like we can't have that type of relationship. So I'm like, I know even though you're anxious about it, like go, and then it's like, okay, next time come back and we'll talk about how you're feeling about some of the information that you've got. So I like tried to like incorporate, you know, some self-disclosure, but like in a way that was not like not ethical.
And
almost.
You did, like you really just said what you did, and you didn't even say if it was a good thing or a bad thing. Like you just kind of like, this happened, like this is information, it's something you can do.
Yeah.
Do with that what you want. Like you didn't say like, yeah, you have to do this is like the only way to do it. It works perfectly.
Yeah.
Like perfect. You need to do it right now. Like I think that was really good, and I really enjoyed that. Like since we did continue from last session, you didn't kind of force me into the same conversation as from last session. Like I had an issue that was going on right now.
Yeah.
And you saw the immediacy in it, and you were like, this is an issue that we need to address now.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on something else.
Yeah.
Like you knew, like, okay, this is a problem, we need to address it before we do all the stuff that we talked about last session. And I think that was really good. I think that kind of shows how flexible you are in a session. Like, I don't know, maybe you went into the session with a full plan of what you wanted to talk about and what you wanted to revisit from the last session, but I went off the grid and talked about something completely different. And I think that was really good because it kind of made you seem a lot more open to just having a conversation instead of you directing the session, which I thought was really good. It seemed like you had some moments where you didn't know what to say, which is understandable. I think, especially since we have done this very much, I think it's good that you like took a pause and kind of process before you tried to go into the next kind of segment and the next question, because you could have just started rambling on. Yes. You could have just been like, whatever.
That was one thing that I noticed from like last time that I tried to incorporate, and I was like chugging along with like the past of the conversation, and then like we got to that one point and it was like, and I was like, gosh, I was like, where'd it go? I was like, no. And I'm just like, and that's why I reached out. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm just like, I didn't know you know,
What to say.
what else to say or do. And like,
Mhm.
I know that's bad for like a clinician just to be like
But I
dumbstruck
feel like
almost.
as a clinician, like you will have moments where you just kind of need to take a second and think about what the client just said and kind of collect your thoughts.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be able to collect your thoughts every time within seconds. So I think it's something that like obviously you don't want it to happen all the time,
Yeah.
but it's something that's going to happen,
Yeah.
especially after someone talked for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like a matter of like being like, I'm just kind of like collecting my thoughts and, you know, telling the other person that you're not just staring at them blindly. Like you're like, I'm just collecting my thoughts and making sure that I'm like bringing out a good response to what you just said. And I think in those moments you can definitely also just say, okay, I understand. You know, buy yourself some time.
Yeah. Definitely.
But I think it was good. Like you handled it decently. Like it's the first time.
Okay.
It's your first time blanking.